Today is April 15, 2022. My name is Jocelyn Mendez. I'm interviewing Jocelyn Mendez for the University Library Special Collections and Archives at the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, hereafter abbreviated as UTRGV. This project is in partnership with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. Please know, Ms. Jocelyn, that this interview will be placed in the University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV and shared with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. If there is anything you do not wish to answer or talk about, I will honor your wishes. Also, if there is something you want to talk about, please bring it up and we'll talk about it. The University Library Special Collections and Archives will archive your interview along with any other photographs and other documentation you are willing to share. UTRGV University Library will retain copyright or non-exclusive right to the interview and any other materials you donate to special collections and archives at UTRGV. Because we are not conducting this interview in person, I need to record you consenting to make sure you agree with our interview procedures before we continue. So I'll ask you a series of 6 questions. Please say yes, I agree, or no, I do not agree after each question. Do you give University Library Special Collections and Archives at UTRGV consent to archive your interview and your materials at the UTRGV University Library?
Yes, I agree.
Do you grant UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives right, title, and interest in copyright over the interview and any other materials you provide?
Yes, I agree.
Do you agree to allow UTRGV University Library Special Collection and Archives to post this interview on the internet where it may be viewed by people around the world?
Yes, I agree.
Do you grant the University Library Special Collections and Archives consent to share your Zoom interview with the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin for inclusion in the Voices of a Pandemic Oral History mini project, which will include posting the interview on the internet?
Yes, I agree.
As you recall, we previously filled out a pre-interview form. We used information from the pre-interview form to help in research. The entire form is kept in a secure Voces server at the University of Texas at Austin. Because Voces sends it UTRGV University Library Special Collections and Archives, we would have stripped out any contact information for yourself or family members so that will be not in the public life. Your public file will only be accessible at UTRGV University Library. The final 2 questions ask for your consent on what I just described. Do you wish for us to share the rest of your interview in your public file available to researchers at UTRGV University Library, Special Collections and Archives?
Yes, I agree.
On occasion, UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and Voces receive requests from journalists who wish to contact our interview subjects. We only deal with legitimate news outlets. Do you give consent for us to share your phone numbers or your email with journalists?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, thank you for your consent. Your experiences and stories mean a lot to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives. I look forward to what you say in the interview questions I will now ask. Jocelyn, thank you for your time. Like I said earlier, your stories and experiences are valuable to us at UTRGV Special Collections and Archives and to our partners at the Voces Oral History Center at the University of Texas at Austin. As an essential employee at Whataburger and full-time student, we can see how the pandemic has affected you in different aspects of your life. It must have been really hard for you not being able to get all your hours that you needed as a household. It is amazing that even though the pandemic affected your education, ever since COVID-19 started, everything became online. And even with the hardships, you were able to work hard to get your bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies. I am proud of you for your accomplishing your goals, even though you may have had some hard days as we all did during the pandemic. So before we talk about COVID-19 stories, can you please share with us a bit about yourself, who you are, and how you wish to be known? Who is Jocelyn Mendez?
Yeah, well, I'm 25 years old. I'm currently working at a high school as an instructional aide for SPED inclusion. I'm also working on my certification since I didn't finish at UTRGV with my certification. What else?
How do you want to be known in the future as a
In
future
the
teacher?
future, as a future teacher, I would like to be known as a caring teacher, the one that cared about the students, not just in school, not like not just academically, but emotionally, because I know sometimes it's difficult to get to know each students,
Mhm.
and I mean they still want to be was recognized like a human. It's not just like, oh, I'm your teacher, you're my student, and that's it. Like,
Okay, thank you. The first section of questions ask you to please share your stories and memories from when the COVID-19 pandemic made its first impact in December 2019 to about the summer of 2020. It also asks about, I want to ask you, can you share some memorable stories about how you first heard or learned about COVID-19, either through the radio, TV, or friends, social media, etc.?
yeah. Well, at first, I think it was at home in the news, because my mom is always watching the news. So she's always telling me everything that happens in the news and like what's going on.
Mhm.
Because I don't really watch the news, but I remember she was telling me about something about COVID-19, and like I didn't really pay attention until like I guess yeah, it was really serious. Um, where it started, and I still remember like going to school. We were, I think it was in yeah, in my Mexican American literature class. We were gonna we were planning on going to Washington. Well, it was part of a project that we were doing. Um, and plus, I remember the teacher, the professor, talking about COVID-19, and then also like on Facebook, I started hearing it and everyone posting about it, and yeah, that's what I remember how COVID-19 started.
So it was mainly through your family at home and social media?
Yes,
Okay. What were some early reports or rumors about COVID-19 that you remember back in 2020?
like here in the valley or like in general, like the whole world.
I would, yeah, in general, since the pandemic started over there in China.
Yeah, well, that's what I remember, like China, how it all started over there, and then I guess like since New York City is a big city, it
Mhm.
it went there like it was they were more affected because it's a big city, so there's more people. So that's what I remember too. Like it all started in China, and then like I just kept hearing everywhere, and then like New York City got really bad, and then over here, I think the first case, I don't remember where it was, but yeah, then all the cases just kept rising up.
At what point did you realize this pandemic was a serious life-altering event?
When I think when like the city of Hidalgo, or not the city of Hidalgo, the county, as like they started telling us that we were supposed to quarantine, and not just like here in the valley, but like around the world, everyone was doing quarantine and getting food, whatever essentials they needed to stay at home for a certain amount of time.
So
That's
whenever,
when I was like,
Mhm. so
sorry.
whenever they announced the first case here in Hidalgo County, that's when you started noticing that it was a serious thing?
Yeah, well, that, and then because of the quarantine, like they started telling us like,
Oh,
yeah, I don't know.
yes.
I didn't really think about COVID-19 as like something really serious or like scary. I
Mhm.
guess until like yeah, I realized like, oh, they want us to quarantine. Like, okay, they, yeah, it is serious. 'Cause, like
Okay.
we had to stay at home for like a while.
Do you remember what it was like for you during the stay-at-home orders in 2020? Do you have any stories from this time you could tell?
Mm,
How it
yeah,
was for you having to stay at home because of quarantine?
yeah. Well, since I was working at Whataburger at that time, plus I would still go out. I mean, just to work because we couldn't really go out either way. Like And yeah, it felt weird because like you're just inside. And for me, like I don't know, I thought it was like scary because like if I would go outside, I was like thinking like, oh, maybe I'll get COVID like once I get step outside my house. Pero, but no. But yeah, that's what I remember. And then like also I remember, well, not just me, but like my dad and my mom and my little brother. But my little brother didn't know much, but he didn't really understand what was going on. I guess we just told him like, oh, like we could get sick. And I still remember like my dad, he had like the longest headache ever because I think he was just overthinking and stressing out since he's always been used to working outside or just being outside, I guess. So I guess he stressed out. He was
Over
just
the
stressing
last
out.
couple, sorry, over the last couple of years, what news media, social media, or other sources do you rely on to keep you informed about COVID-19? And why do you prefer those news sources?
Right now, well, the news has like always, but it's cause just my mom that she watches the news, so she tells me what happens in the news. And then, well, I follow on Facebook like Univision, Telemundo, and Channels 5, and yeah, that's how I. It's still the same like news and social media that I get my information for COVID.
Okay. Can you share with me what you understand about COVID-19 as an infectious disease and how you feel it's impacted society? Likewise, can you share with me that you don't understand what you don't understand about COVID and wish you could know more about?
Well, what I understand about COVID was it's like airborne illness or something like that.
Airborne?
Yeah, and I remember what they would tell us to wear a mask or like not to yeah or to wear a mask because it was easily for us to get sick, especially in crowded places. And the symptoms were like different types of symptoms that could also be what the symptoms you get when you get the flu and like a cold, even like a sign like a allergy, the sinus infections. I mean, like they have the same symptoms, which is
No.
kind of scary.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Do you feel your family has the same beliefs as you about COVID-19, or are there some members who take it more seriously or more lightly? How so?
Mm. Well, in the beginning, well, still my mom and my dad they take it really seriously. Um, I still remember we would always, well, we still do it. We clean the groceries because that's what they would tell us in the news, or that's what they would recommend for us to clean our stuff that we were bringing from the outside because, plus, you never know who touches the stuff, and so we would always get home from the HEB or Walmart cleaning, sanitizing the items that we would buy, and we still do it. Even like my mom and my dad, they still worry about it. And like I guess my brothers, well, one of them doesn't really take it seriously, and the other one, I guess it's all right. I don't know. I don't really talk to him.
Okay. This next part asks you to share any stories about COVID-19 vaccines and any vaccinations related stories you may wish to tell. Did you get back? Did you get a vaccine and any follow-up booster shots? If yes, what was it like? Was it easy or difficult for you in terms of scheduling, waiting time?
Mm, yeah, we got vaccinated. Well, the beginning when they said that there was a vaccine already. I kind of waited for it because like I know a lot of people were gonna go get vaccinated, so I was like, no, I don't wanna be around people. And so we waited a little bit, me and my mom, and we weren't really sure like where to like register until like one of my friends she told me that she was gonna get vaccinated at UTRGV in the medical center, wherever the medical building.
Mhm.
I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure, but That's where we got vaccinated. So she sent me the link to set my appointment for me and my mom. And because I remember my dad didn't want to get it because I guess he's scared of needles or something. um, but yeah, my mom got it and I did. We got the first dose because you know how you have to get two doses. Well, we got the first one and then we had to wait until I don't know when to get it again, the other one, because it was like two parts. And then she got the booster, but I didn't get the booster.
Okay. Can you share a memory from the place where you were vaccinated or boosted?
Yeah, it was there at the UTRGV in the medical. I remember we were I was getting to the parking lot and in front of that building, the same building, again in
Mhm.
medical, there was a line, and then there was also securities and the the vaquero guy giving out like stuff of vaqueros.
Okay.
Yeah, but the line moved really fast, so it was good.
Okay. These next set of questions, Jocelyn, are going to ask you about how COVID-19 has impacted your life in the way of your career and your family. Jocelyn, did any of your family members get sick from COVID-19? If yes, who was it? And how was your experience being sick?
Um, yeah, well, two family members of mine got COVID-19. It's my sister and my sister-in-law. And well, my sister-in-law, I guess she has like a weaker immune system because I also believe that depending on your immune system, that's how it affects you. Like any disease or like illness, it
Mhm.
affects you really hard. And well, she's always been the one that has like the immune system really low or like weak. So for her, it was really hard to breathe, and I think she was the only one like felt more and more. I guess no se sentía muy bien,
Yes. Mhm.
and her husband, well, he got positive too, but he didn't feel as ugly as he didn't feel ugly like symptoms or anything. And also the kids, she has four kids. Two of them came out positive, two came out negative, but they didn't have any symptoms. So, which is good because I mean it sucks when kids are sick.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and then my sister was she couldn't taste or smell, and I know she had trouble breathing at nights, like when she was gonna go to sleep. I
Mhm.
think she would have trouble sleeping at night because it would affect her more.
Okay. As you mentioned above about going to the grocery store and people were taking everything, was there a point you where you couldn't provide something for your family?
Mm, I don't remember, but I remember a lot of people were buying toilet paper, like waters, food. Oh, the Lysol disinfecting wipes and the disinfecting sprays. I remember we had trouble finding those, especially like for us that we wanted to sanitize our stuff and um but just to have stuff to sanitize and be careful. And also the germs, alcohol, everything was really really difficult to find. I think those were the most stuff that we had trouble finding.
Okay. You also mentioned that you would disinfect everything you would buy. How did that affect your family's life? And do you still do it?
Yeah, well, it didn't affect us like in a bad way. I mean, I feel it's a good thing because we still do it. We still disinfect it. So like now we're more like careful and we sanitize everything. And I mean, I still wash my hands. Like even before COVID, I would always be really careful about sanitizing and being clean. Like and I still, but now we're more like careful with it. So we still sanitize everything even today.
So it's something that it became normal to your families?
Yeah, like It's funny because I mean at first we were like, oh, we have to do this. I mean it's nothing bad, right? But it is time consuming because you just want to get home and organize everything really quick. But now no, we get home and then we just start getting everything out and sanitize each item one by one. But it's like normal now.
Okay. How did the vaccine affect your mother, as you mentioned that she got it as well?
Well, thankfully she didn't get any symptoms because I know some people were getting chills or would feel weak, but no, she just wherever she got the vaccine, I think she got it in her right arm or left arm, and was just her arm felt heavy and it kind of hurt, and that was it.
What was your family's thoughts about things running out in the store, essential items such as toilet paper and disinfecting wipes or Germex?
Well, my mom and my dad was they were worried and I guess scared at some point because I mean we didn't want to get sick, we didn't want to risk ourselves buying stuff and not having anything to disinfect because well, we didn't want to risk it to get sick or anything, especially well with my little brother and then my mom. So yeah.
How did COVID-19 impacted your family's gatherings during the holidays?
Mm. But we used to, I mean, before COVID and everything, we would always gather. Um, it was like, oh yeah, let's hang out or whatever, and without like worrying about anything. But since COVID-19, it was like we didn't want to risk it, so we kind of celebrated in each other's like birthday parties. But we would always attend to them or whatever, and but now it was just like a phone call, happy birthday, and or video, because but we didn't want to risk it to get sick or get anyone sick, especially the little kids or
So those are some things that you guys did differently. Instead of celebrating in person, you would just do a phone call.
yes, we would do a phone call or or video call through the phone.
I will now start with the work-related challenges. What effects did COVID-19 had in your job when the pandemic started? Hours like and duties as an employer.
Well, ours like since Whataburger it's 24/7 because we would I would usually stay till like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. But since the quarantine and then they had put a curfew like here in Hidalgo, Texas. I think everywhere they had put a curfew that we had to be at home or not be in the streets by after 11 p.m. So the store would close at 10 p.m. Dining was closed and the drive-through was open, but we would close really early, so at 11 p.m. So it went from 24/7 to 11 hours, 7. No, I don't even know how many hours, but yeah, they would open at 6:30 or 7 in the morning, and then we would close at 11 p.m. So it did affect everyone because well, we were used to the hours, like getting our hours, and well, since we would close early, and sometimes we were overstaffed since it was a lot of us.
How about your duties? What were your duties? Well, like did they change when the pandemic started?
Well, I would do every duty. I would be cashier, fry station, drive through. So it didn't really affect me in the duties. I would still do the same stuff that I would do. It was just the hours. It was just short hours now, not long hours.
So how did the company do to protect their employees and their customers with the from the pandemic?
Well, to protect us, they closed the dining
Okay.
because they knew. we would get busy. I mean, we still get they still get busy. I mean, especially it was 24/7, so Whataburger was always the option for the people to go and go get something to eat. So the dining was closed for like a while, and it was just a drive-through. They would make us wear gloves and wash our hands. Since the washing the hands was 30 seconds, they had put it to 60 seconds. And every 30 minutes or every if we had to change station or something, we would always have to wash our hands. And they would make us wear gloves and then the masks.
What were your first thoughts about them closing early or
Well, at the
closing at all
beginning,
since it has always since it has always been a 24-hour restaurant? What was your first thought about that?
well, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get a rest because I was tired. I mean, I was tired of the long hours. It was kind of a break, a little bit like a break from working long hours and even standing for long hours. At first, I was like, yeah, it's good. I mean, it'll be fine. And but then like after, I was like, oh, I'm not getting my hours. I missed the long hours.
Okay. Did you ever notice any supply chain shortages that affected the menu items offered to customers at any point during the pandemic?
Um, no, yeah, the Germix. It was the Germix that they had trouble finding. I remember they had ordered some, but I think the company in general had already run out or something. They couldn't find any more, so there was a limit on the Germix, but we still had some.
But like food wise, there was any, you guys weren't
Oh
missing?
no, that was never a problem.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, if they needed food, like maybe some item, not food in general, but like cups, straws, napkins, all that stuff, they would just call another store.
Oh,
But for us to have Germix and maybe the soap, like to sanitize and everything, because they also had the wipes for us to sanitize, and I think they had trouble finding some too.
now that we are in 2022 and we are not in the peak of new COVID wave in the US, do you know if the Whataburger has returned to the pre-pandemic normality?
Like now, like right now,
Yes,
or
yes, 20, yes, as in right now.
listen, right now.
So ever since the COVID-19 cases started slowing down, going down?
Yeah. Well, when it slowed down, that I still hadn't quit. They did reopen the dining. So I had mentioned that they closed it. Well, they opened it and then they had put the stickers, the 6 feet apart, the use of the masks for the customers, and but they would close the dining early, and I believe right now they still do. The drive-through is 24/7, but the dining is it closes at 11 p.m. or 10 p.m. I believe. I'm not sure, but I know the drive-through for sure is open 24/7.
Okay. How did COVID-19 impacted your studies at UTRGV as a student that would go in person full time?
Was a full-time student. I was taking at that time. I was taking my Mexican American classes. That was for my minor in Mexican American studies. Um, I remember having Mexican American literature and I believe Mexican American history. Those two courses, and I don't know the other names, but I those classes I remember because I enjoyed those classes. I remember my Mexican American literature was we were planning on going to Washington because we had to. One of our assignments was to email or yeah email. It was a pen pal that I had over there in Washington, and we would have to email her about our like lives or what we were doing in class and how was the value over here and stuff like that. And when COVID-19 happened, I remember the professor was telling us that we were gonna that there was an opportunity for us to go meet our pen pal at Washington. But then COVID-19 happened and the flights were canceled and we weren't able to go meet our pen pal. So it affected me like that. And then, because I was used to going to school and walking, looking at the campus, especially because they have a lot of trees and well, I don't know. I always liked nature, like the grass, the trees. Even though it was sunny, I still like going and walking around the campus because I would get out of my house. So, but once I had to go virtually, it was difficult because, I mean, I was already used to seeing my professor and like the discussions in person because we would always have discussions every time we would go to the class. And I really enjoyed that class, but then it went virtually, so we didn't really meet as much virtually. And then my other professor was, I feel it was difficult for him because this meeting is being recorded. It was difficult for him because he wasn't used to the technology. Because I still remember he just gave us like last essay. I think that was the last essay that we had to do, and that was it. He never met with us virtually or anything, but the other professor did. So yeah, it was a
It was a big
change.
change for you.
Yes.
Okay. How did you feel about not being able to go to that trip due to COVID-19?
Well, I was sad and upset with COVID. Yeah. Because I mean, I was excited. I was ready. I had the money. Yeah, I had the money. But I know, I mean, even though I had the money, I mean, I know they were like other applications, even though like for other people like to apply for for them to go to attend the Washington over there at Washington. And I mean, I was excited to meet my pen pal in person and knowing where she lived and everything. So yeah, we didn't get to go.
Okay. So was it hard for you to adjust to doing like school virtually online? Or were you already like familiar with that?
Well, I've always been a fan of technology, so it wasn't really difficult for me to get used to the virtual stuff. It was just more difficult for me to like be like, oh, I'm gonna do my homework, and it was difficult because I didn't want to. I was in I was at home, so all I wanted to do was sleep or watch TV, and because the thought of doing homework was in my mind at home. But at school, was yeah, I was at school. I would do my homework.
How did COVID-19 affected your social life, as in with friends, like outside of, like in school or outside of school or at work?
Mm, well, like when I was a Whataburger, when everything COVID, I was still like a Whataburger during COVID and everything. Was me and my best friend. We would after work, since we would work long hours, we would go to IHOP or Denny's to eat, or sometimes we would stay there at Whataburger and eat like whatever they had there. Or like even want to drive or whatever, we would hang out and talk and we would stay there for like a while. But since COVID-19, I mean, we couldn't really go out as much because they wanted us to be at home by 11. I mean, a lot of people didn't follow the rules, but I mean, for me, it was like, yeah, I have to be at home before 11. So that kind of affected us. And then my other friend, because it was we rarely see her, so it was like, wow, we didn't see her at all. So it was we just text because we were used to like hanging out Saturdays or Sundays to go eat or do something with her as well, my best friend and my other best friend. So that. did affect us. We just texted each other, but sometimes it was hard because sometimes because you don't realize you don't text each other, so it was more better like in person um type. But since COVID, was we weren't able to go out as much.
Okay. What did you guys think about the curfew?
Well, I didn't like it because I mean I was used to getting out of work late, um, and plus we couldn't work as long now because of that curfew. And with my best friend, she was used to she's used to being out and I mean like going like to downtown and stuff. So she didn't really like it.
Did any of your
But she had
friends get sick or had someone that died because of
um
COVID-19?
my friends. Yeah, well, my one of my friends did have COVID-19, and but she didn't really feel as much symptoms as some other people, which is good. I mean, I know the symptoms are ugly. You don't feel as good, especially the breathing, because it would affect your lungs. But that I know that someone lost someone because of COVID-19, I don't really remember.
Okay.
I don't think so. Yeah.
This last section asks you to share any stories or you have about this pandemic and the response by local, state, and national elected officials. Feel free to respond or pass on any of the questions. Do you feel satisfied with the local response to COVID-19 in Brownsville, Rancho Viejo, and Cameron County over these last 2 years?
Oh, can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yes. Do you feel satisfied with the local response to COVID-19 in Brownsville, Rancho Viejo, or Cameron County over these last 2 years?
Mm, like, what do you mean, like, on that question? Sorry.
Yes. Like, what do you think about what they would tell us to do, as in like quarantine or wear your face mask, social distance? What were your thoughts
Oh,
about that?
okay. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Mm, I mean, I think that was it was good. I mean, they were trying to protect us and everything. I know a lot of people didn't like it because they didn't believe in COVID-19. There's a lot of people that were against that stuff, like the masks and the 6 feet apart. So I still remember at Whataburger when we started back opening the dining was I in my mind I was like, what if the people don't want to wear the masks? And I mean they're gonna get all offended or mad. And yeah, I mean there was just those customers that refused to wear the mask. And they were like, why am I gonna wear a mask? This is a free country. And yeah, they were just mad. But the managers would deal with that. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the state response to COVID-19 led by government about over these last couple of years?
um,
How the state responded to COVID-19?
mm, I guess yes. I mean, whatever they did, I mean, it was just for our safety, not because it was something they wanted to be mean to us. But I mean, like I say, I was fine with everything. It's just maybe like the other people that I still remember, like why don't they just follow the rules? Because I mean, I'm the person that I'll follow the rules and I'll do whatever to be safe, not just because. I mean,
Okay. How do you feel about the national response to COVID-19 led by President Trump in the year 2020 and then President Biden from 21 to the present? Do you
mm,
think there has been some changes between President Trump and President Biden? dealing with the pandemic?
It's, well, I don't remember as much as with Trump. I don't know if you have any more information about how Trump worked on that stuff.
Um, if you want, you could just
I mean,
pause the question. I could continue with the next one if you like.
okay. Well, I just remember they were giving us I what was it called, the stipends or the stimulus, the
Yes.
stimulus. That's how they were helping out. I remember Trump was giving out businesses opportunities to get better, or I don't know if it was Trump or Biden.
Okay. If you had the power or of a political office to respond to COVID-19, what would you have done differently?
Mm, um, let me think. Like saying maybe like the mask and the stuff and all that stuff.
Yes. Is there something that you would have done differently or you would like to add or remove if you had the power of a political office to respond to the pandemic?
Okay. Well, I was for everything. I mean, I didn't mind the mask and the curfew and the no, yeah. I think that was good. I mean, I'm not really a political person.
Okay. This is this is a special year in our national democracy because it's a midterm election voting year. Do you plan to vote? And if so, is the issue of COVID-19 going to factor into your votes?
If it's gonna affect my votes or
Yes.
like me voting,
Yes.
um, for this year or
Yes.
no, I wasn't planning on voting. I really don't vote. It was just like the president, voting for the president, but I don't think I'm gonna vote this time. No.
What impact or purpose do you hope your story may have on listeners of the Voices of a Pandemic digital archives?
That would impact them.
Yes. What would you like for the listeners to like learn from this or see differently about the
Okay.
pandemic?
I feel what they should like learn or about this interview or the stuff that I've shared. I mean, even if there's changes and stuff, we'll get used to it eventually. It's not like the end of the world. It seemed like the end of the world, but it's well, we get used to it. We adapt to it, and eventually it becomes normal. Like the masks. I remember we feel weird wearing the mask, but eventually you get used to the fact of being safe.
Is there anything else you would like to share with me about your experiences with COVID-19 that I have not asked about?
Mm. Well, I would like to share one more thing that I forgot to mention earlier.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I still remember now that um my mom was in her she had cancer, breast cancer, so
Okay.
she was going through chemotherapies during that time. She had already finished the difficult part, I believe so. Um, but I would always go with her to the chemotherapies. They would last like I'm not sure if 3 hours or maybe less than 3 hours. I don't really remember, but I remember going with her to all the chemos, and eventually I had to stop going with her because they would only let the patient and go into the hospital for the chemos, so no family members could be with them. So I think that was another effect that happened was as my with my family, because my mom was going through that and she had to go through the last chemotherapies, doctor visits by herself. So I think that was another change that eventually we had to get adapted to, get used to it.
Mm, okay, I see. Okay, well, this was the last question, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing your stories with me, the Voices of a Pandemic or History Project.
Okay. Yes, no problem.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you.